78% of project status reports show green exactly 1 week before a major schedule miss is disclosed to leadership. It begs a logistical question. How is it mathematically possible for a project to be completely fine on a Friday and entirely derailed by Monday? This chart maps the anatomy of that delay. A massive vertical gap opens between the green line, the reported trajectory, and the red line, the stalled progress. This gap represents 45% of total delay, remaining invisible to leadership until the schedule's final third. If your tracking system relies on a person manually deciding whether a task feels red or green, you are not tracking a project, you are tracking morale. The root cause of this systemic failure is the industry-standard reliance on the percent complete metric, specifically asking task owners to estimate their own progress. Asking someone how close they are to finishing doesn't yield objective data, it yields optimism. A task gets worked in progress the day it starts, and it sits there for 6 weeks. The exact percentage is updated each week purely by a manager's gut feeling. Because of this, weekly status meetings devolve into performance theater. No one wants to be the first person in the room to admit they are behind schedule. A project plan that nobody is actively trying to disprove using hard evidence isn't actually being tracked. It is merely being decorated. Take the case of Meridian Logistics. They ran a 14-month, $7.2 million warehouse automation rollout across 6 regional hubs. For the first 8 months, every single weekly status report read on track. That rating was based purely on task owners updating a shared spreadsheet with their self-reported completion percentages. The point of failure was the robotics middleware. On paper, it hit 70. When audited, leadership found it was actually 35% done, forcing the entire project to finish 5 months late. This brings us to the first rule of effective tracking: evidence-based milestones. Completion must mean a signed-off, checkable artifact actually exists, not just that a target calendar date has passed. If a project manager cannot point to physical evidence of a milestone in under 30 seconds, it isn't complete. It has simply stopped being discussed. To fix this, subjective guesswork has to be replaced by the rigorous mathematics of earned value management, or EVM. EVM removes human sentiment. It exposes schedule and cost variance objectively by calculating the Schedule Performance Index, known as the SPI. An SPI below 1.0 is a mathematical deficit. An SPI of 0.8 means earning only 80 cents of value for every dollar of planned time. No amount of meeting room confidence or verbal reassurance can overwrite this mathematical index. True progress tracking isolates the facts. It operates entirely immune to a project manager's ego, fear, or optimism. But even objective data is useless if it is applied incorrectly. Teams routinely waste hours in status meetings debating tasks that have 12 days of buffer time, completely ignoring the few items that dictate the final deadline. That buffer time is called float, the amount of time a specific task can be delayed without pushing the final delivery date. Tasks with zero float make up the critical path, an unbroken chain from start to finish. A slip here isn't a management problem. It immediately becomes a finish date problem. Not all delay is equal. A functional tracking system must apply disproportionate, extreme urgency exclusively to that critical path. Status reporting also fails when it relies on single updates. A weekly status update is just a photograph. A continuous burndown chart is a film. Watching the slope of remaining work provides a forecast. A flattening slope on a burn-down chart for 2 consecutive cycles is the absolute earliest reliable predictor of a missed deadline. Acting on that forecast requires pre-agreed variance thresholds. This is a set rule, defined before work begins, that forces a mandatory escalation conversation. By triggering escalation purely based on a mathematical threshold, like an SPI dropping below 0.85, you remove the fear associated with delivering bad news. When escalation is a personal judgment call, it gets delayed by ego. When it is triggered automatically by the math, it bypasses the social cost of looking incompetent in front of leadership. When Meridian Logistics adopted this framework and shifted to evidence-based tracking, the results were immediate. Across their next 3 programs, the time it took to detect schedule variance dropped from an average of 9 weeks down to just 11 days. This speed comes from tracking leading indicators, like the count of blocked tasks, which show you what is about to happen. This replaces a reliance on lagging completion rates, which only show you what has already failed. This checklist outlines the parameters of a true progress tracking audit. By ensuring every milestone requires a checkable artifact and enforcing EVM calculations, a project remains grounded in reality rather than sentiment. Ultimately, upgrading a project management office requires a systemic cleanse, replacing every subjective, emotional input with an objective, mathematically derived output. But there is an ultimate point of failure. The most sophisticated, mathematically pristine dashboard will still break down if the people on the ground are afraid to enter accurate numbers into it. The system only works when the social cost of reporting a slipped task in week 2 is vastly lower than the catastrophe of hiding that same task until week 20. Every tracking tool is completely useless if a team believes that marking a task red gets them blamed and marking it green gets them left alone. You must fix the reporting incentive before you fix the dashboard software, because a dashboard cannot lie to you. Only the people entering the numbers can.